In this visit to the shed, we're going to be upgrading this to this. Tonight in the shop, the final step in this epic journey to bring this venerable old steed to 11-speed greatdom. It's been a long journey, never thought it would take this long, but we had a few mishaps, one may say possibly COVID related, in that everything took long to arrive, and sometimes when they arrived, they weren't even really the correct thing. So I thought about just sticking with the 32, but I thought, no, stick to your guns. You said you're going with 36. So when this guy was sent and it was wrong, I sent it back and I waited. So that's why everything's just taking a little bit longer. But today we are finally getting round to fitting the derailleur and finishing this 11-speed upgrade. I've already done two of the more pedestrian tasks, and I've fitted the chain ring, which is all the jobs on building, maintaining a bike. This is the one I hate most. I don't know why, I just absolutely hate the ridiculous tool bolt, horrendous design, unless it's threaded on the chain ring. I don't understand why it has to be that bad. We need a better option for this. But at the same time, we don't. Please don't make a new standard, just make a better tool. And I fitted the shifter as well. So again, it's all SLX 11-speed, so curtains match the drapes. So now we just have to fit the derailleur, fit the cable, and then index and fit the chain. So let's get to it. The tools you'll need are all really basic home workshop tools. You need a screwdriver and you need some Allen keys. You need a chain brake for when we mount the chain. Whether you're fitting a new derailleur, upgrading or replacing a worn one, or merely refitting your existing drivetrain after a deep clean strip down, fitting a derailleur and indexing it is a kind of standard everyday bike task that everyone needs to kind of know how to do really. It can feel a bit more complicated than it really is, so we're going to try and break it down and make it as straightforward as possible in this video. So enough said, let's get to it. One other quick thing I will say is if you want good accurate shifting, if you don't have one of these, you should really seriously invest in one. It's the derailleur hanger alignment tool. Now whilst you won't use one of these very often, it will tell you if the hanger, that little bracket of metal which is sacrificial, is true to the cassette. If it isn't, your shifting will never be right. And quite often, all it's going to take is a quick measurement with one of these tools to let you know that that's where the problem with your shifting is coming from. I'm not going to go into detail on how to use these in this video. I have done a video on this in the past for single tracks. I'll put the link in the description and do the YouTube bit. So you'll see on the hanger itself, there's a little notch. And on the Mech, on the bolt that attaches the Mech to that hanger, there's a corresponding little notch. Those two need to marry together. Next, we have to fit the actual gear cable itself. You'll find under the shifter, there'll be a little plastic nut. Remove that, then thread the cable in. With the cable installed, it's now time to tension the cable, bolt it to the derailleur itself, and then we can see about indexing. At this stage, you need to pull the cable really taut. Cinch the bolt down. At this point, I quite like to make sure that everything's moving, so I'll jump up to the shifter, give it a few cranks. Now we're not going to go into measuring chains tonight. There are plenty of guides and videos on how to do that. It's pretty straightforward. Love quick links. They are so awesome. Currently, the indexing on this is pretty bad. It doesn't want to go to the top gear and it doesn't want to go to the lowest gear. And it doesn't like shifting one gear smoothly at a time. You can hear it kind of creep up a gear. So, we've got some work to do. Indexing is the process where we make sure where we shift is where the derailleur goes to. If the derailleur moves the chain too far up the rear cassette, it can shift it off the cassette and into the spokes. Too low down, it can foul the frame. And if it's then constrained too much, it won't reach the top and it won't reach the bottom. It's quite important to get a smooth running drivetrain. It's actually pretty straightforward. It's about 3 bolts and cable tension. Now the Mech itself has 2 bolts that limits its travel up the cassette and down the cassette. They limit how far up or down it can move. So by tightening or loosening those bolts, we can make that mech move higher up or lower down that cassette. After that, we have the B tension screw. It sets how high or low the derailleur is from the bottom of the cassette. So we don't want that top jockey wheel to be too close to cassette, otherwise it might start to foul the cassette itself. Too far away and too low, and we're not going to have enough chain wrap. So there is a happy sweet spot between that top jockey wheel and the cassette. We'll start with the lowest cog or the hardest gear. As you can see, as I tighten that, it moves in. As I loosen it, it will be able to shift down nicely. So now we need to repeat the process at the other end of the sprocket. You see we have the same issue that we can't shift all the way up, as that lower limit screw is preventing us getting all the way there. So now we repeat the exercise of loosening or tightening this screw to ensure that chain only shifts to that top sprocket and it can't shift over the edge and foul the spokes. The last thing we have to adjust is the B tension screw. Just like the other 2 adjustment screws, this is simply a case of winding the screw in or out to raise or lower that jockey wheel until you get just into that sweet spot with just the right amount of chain wrap and enough gap between the lower portion of the sprocket and the jockey wheel. All that's left to do now is run through all your gears, make sure you're shifting through the whole range smoothly, adjust any cable tension if needed, and you're hot to trot. So that was an overly long and unnecessarily wrought journey from 9 to 11 speed. If you've enjoyed this unepic journey, give us a like and subscribe, and tell us in the comments what upgrades your ride has had during this COVID-ness. Hopefully the next one won't be as overwrought as this one, both in sourcing the parts and putting the video together, because I started this in the spring, as you can no doubt tell by the continuity nightmare that is my hair. As always, thanks for watching and happy trails.